to Elliott. Oh, bicycle!
The shot, Bedoya with a goal, 1-0 Union.
In back-to-back matches, 2 10-minute stretches have doomed the Union. It was the last 10 against Montreal on the road and the first 10 against Orlando at home this past weekend. After conceding 2 early goals to Orlando, the Union suffered their first home loss in a year and a half. We'll discuss how the Union plan to turn the tide this weekend against Sporting Kansas City. That and more as we kick off this week's Union Insider. Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's Union Insider, your weekly deep dive into the Philadelphia Union. Alongside Shannon Williams and Sebastian Letou, I'm Marissa Pilla. In the Union's 2-1 loss to Orlando City this weekend, they were missing 3 key starters: Julian Carranza, Daniel Gazdag, and Jose Martinez. For each of you, who was the biggest missing piece?
For me, I think it's Martinez, just for one reason, just because I think we saw Flack, playing at his position as a number 6, and we saw kind of Flack being a bit by himself. And it's not, I think, his fault. It just kind of shows you the importance of Flack defensively in a system of Jim Curtin when he played with Martinez to really defend. And when he was by himself, he didn't get as much help with all the Orlando players, playing underneath. He really didn't know who to mark, and it was a lot of space in the midfield for them to play. So you can see the importance of him and Martinez. That's why you like Martinez to be as a number 6 and him kind of like big on the left side, even if he doesn't bring as much offensively as maybe Pereira did in this game. But he kind of show you that defensively it's a big importance in this game.
Shannon?
For me, it's Carranza. We talked about the front line being disjointed, and I think Carranza was a big part of why it was that way. I don't think Donovan and Ua did a great job of linking up. We know when Carranza's in the game how they look for him and how the forwards then link up and look to join into the attack together. So I think that was definitely a big missing piece in the attack, and a reason that they weren't able to get as many good chances as they've been able to do in some of the past games.
The Union were disjointed on the attack, but also disjointed on defense as well, conceded 2 early goals against Orlando. We're down 2-0 in the first 10 minutes. How does a team need to reset after that?
I think right away it's good for them. They just have another home game against Kansas City this weekend. But I think for them it's kind of like just go back to the basis, know things that they need to just keep a clean sheet, especially at home. Do the things simple. Don't try too hard, to do some things that they are not used to do. And at the same time, I feel like communication for their defense is very important, because we saw sometime in the games of Orlando that it was too much space for players and nobody was stepping on them. So I think they need to really communicate well between the back four, the goalkeeper, and of course, the center midfield. And I think they should be good.
What broke down defensively?
I think just a lack of awareness and that the game is starting and that they really need to come out ready to go. I think they're going to get every team's best shot this year, and they haven't done a good job so far of matching the intensity of the other team, especially in these first couple minutes of the games.
Where the Union are at right now, they're conceding 4 times as many goals through the first 5 games as they did last year. Why do you think that is? I
think it's been a little bit of a foot in both competitions, with them being in Champions League and also looking ahead into games in MLS. They need to do a better job of making sure that they concentrate on the game ahead and the task at hand.
The Union ended a couple different streaks with that loss against Orlando. 11 straight wins at home is now gone. 24 home unbeaten matches has ended. It's been 570 days since an opponent left Subaru Park with a win. Now the Union are back at ground zero at home. What was the most impressive thing about this Union streak at home?
I feel it just, every time they were able to get a win or get a point, even if sometimes we are believing, they are not going to get it that time. And, they were really, I think, the mentality of the team, like knowing that they got the support, of course, for the fans. It was, unbelievable, doing all that streak. But it was kind of like you play at home and you are like, they're going to get something. They're going to come back even if they were done. It was kind of the mentality we were feeling every time we saw them play. So now to be done, they have to restart it. I'm sure they will have no problem doing this, but every streak has a hand, and it was the case last weekend.
All good things have to come to an end. Definitely a sense of confidence at home. The Union are back at home this weekend against Sporting Kansas City. How concerned are you that the effect from last weekend will spill over until this weekend?
I think I think that they'll do a better job this week of coming out and being ready for the game. We know that they'll have a lot of their starters back and a full roster at their disposal, so I definitely expect a better performance. I expect them to be upset about what happened last weekend and try to come out and right the ship this weekend.
What conversations do you think are being had right now?
I mean, the conversation is just very simple. Like you said, they're all probably upset. I'm sure the guys who miss the game are upset too, and they want to show that they're not really like the team what they show, against Orlando, and they are much better than that. And I think Kansas City need to be ready because everybody wants to give a good show this weekend to all the fans.
Let's get into our first team report presented by Green Mountain Energy. The Union have had a full week of training ahead of their match against Sporting Kansas City this weekend, but they'll have a quick turnaround for their return to CONCACAF Champions League next week. With the international window coming to a close, the Union were back at full strength in training. Daniel Gazdag and Jose Martinez returned to the mix and are available for selection this weekend. The starters are a welcome sight for Jim Curtin, and with the Union coming off back-to-back losses, Philly is heading into this weekend with a point to prove.
I think it'll be good to get everybody back from international duty and from injury, and we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, those little decisions in seasons can have big effects. And it goes from a fairly comfortable possible 3 points in Montreal to a scramble, and then losing 5 or 6 guys, 5 or 6 starters in the next game, where we didn't have our best performance. Still, we still should be able to get a result at home. But now you start to feel a situation where it kind of wasn't us, and we didn't play the way we usually do at home. So I think the group will have a good response against Kansas City. Win, lose, or draw, we want to put on a good display to our fans and show that we are still a very good team that had a bad outing last game, because we are missing some players too. Gazdag trained fully today. Other guys arrive and fly in today, and we'll be at training tomorrow, so we'll have a good 2 days with them, and then should be pretty much at full strength going into Kansas City.
Well, yeah, those are a lot of games that we're playing. The last one at home, we lost it, so we're trying to get positive this week, trying to work hard for the next game at home, and then, like always, we're focused on the week. We're training what are we going to do on the weekend, so we're focused on that.
Working hard this week in training to get back to being us, especially at home. We have 2 big home games coming up now with Kansas City and obviously Atlas in the Champions League. And we know that they're 2 tough tests for us.
Union are in a bit of unfamiliar territory right now. They haven't suffered back-to-back losses since August and September of 2021. What needs to be done on and off the field to make sure that these results don't start snowballing?
It's just a mentality. I feel like it's very hard, especially for them to lose twice at home. I don't think it's going to be the case, but I think they just need to prepare the game better. They have a full week of training to kind of erase all the mistakes they did against Orlando, and now they play a Kansas City team who is struggling as well. So they really need to, we are going to talk about, but start the game very strong, put like a big intensity into the game, and kind of show Kansas City that it's not going to be an easy game, and they cannot slow down the game because the player is going to play hard during the full 90 minutes.
How does a team use emotions as fuel and not let it turn into distraction?
I think that they're all professional players and that they're all in a mindset of what's next and what can we do to right this ship. And I think that they'll do a much better job of coming out prepared, worrying about those little details that they haven't gotten quite right so far this season. And they'll do a better job of just making sure that they start the game the right way, like Seba talked about. And like we've talked about so many times, it's really starting to become a trend for them, something that they're going to really want to buck early on in the season here.
This weekend's opponent is Kansas City. They're sitting near the bottom of the table in the West and have yet to win a match this season. Where do they pose the biggest threat for the Union?
It's offensively, I feel like there are a few players like Saloy, on the west side who love to come inside and get some shot. He scored, his first goal as well, last week. But the thing is, it's a little bit different. There are a few injuries as well too. But their defense is like the weakest point. So hopefully the team do a good job, get ready, know exactly what to do, and cover each other and communicate your defense to don't give up an early goal. And then I think with the offense, we saw this year the team scored a lot of goals. So I'm expecting them to score a goal again this weekend.
On the attack for Sporting Kansas City, forward Johnny Russell might make his way back into the starting lineup. What dimension does he add to Sporting Kansas City that the Union need to be aware of?
For me, he's Kansas City's best attacker, a team that's only scored 2 league goals so far. They'll definitely be looking for a big boost from Johnny Russell, especially on that right side where he likes to hang out and likes to isolate people and go 1v1. So you need to do a good job of making sure that if he is on the field, that they're aware of where he's at and making sure that they can contain him.
The Union and Sporting Kansas City both looking to bounce back from losses last week. And with that, we'll wrap up this week's First Team Report. We're about to step away, but before we do, it's time for This Week in Union History presented by Premier Orthopedics. On this very day in 2019, the Union faced FC Cincinnati for the first time in their history. The Union came away with a 2-0 win at Nippert Stadium with goals coming from David Accam and Marco Fabian. Union Insider returns after this. We're back with Throwback Thursday presented by United Concordia. For this throwback, we're going back to 2020 and the MLS's back tournament for the last time the Union and Kansas City faced off. It was a triumphant day for the boys in blue who got a brace from Sergio Santos and 6 saves from Andre Blake en route to a 3-1 win. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Marissa, that's Seba, that's Shannon, and this is Union Insider, and it's time for these two to hand over their keys to the game presented by Subaru. Seba, what's the key for a win?
We are going to call it special delivery. It's
Fancy.
I know. Let's explain what it means. It's just I think with the last games they played against Seattle at home, 4 goals came crossing from the Seattle, and Jordan Morris scoring 4 goals in that game, being in the box. So I feel like especially on the left side, he came a lot on the left side in Seattle. So probably Kai Wagner with his good delivery. I really hope he can really push forward, really kind of give some good crossing into the box. And at the end, we just need minimum 1 or 2 guys in the box to get those places. And I think the matchup between Kai Wagner and Graham Zusi on the right side with more a midfielder back as a right back, not as fast. I think it's be a great matchup for the Union. So a good crossing into the box, I think, would be a good chance for the Union.
Shannon, do you have a special name for your key as well this week?
I don't. Mine will be pretty simple. As a defender, mine's going to be to keep a clean sheet. We talked about the streak that ended. Can they start a new streak? And that's going to start with them keeping a clean sheet. I think that when they give themselves the best chance to win is when they can keep a 0 in the back. So their defense needs to get back to the basics and making sure that they don't give up as many chances to Sporting.
When you say back to the basics, what does that mean for you?
For me, they've just been disjointed. They've been kind of all over the place. They need to make sure that they are cohesive and sticking together and making sure that they are stepping and covering for one another and not giving up such huge gaps. We've seen teams come in and expose them a little bit, especially when they don't have the best goalkeeper in the league behind them to make those big saves when they need it. So they need to do a better job of making sure that they protect the goal and not giving up as many key chances in the game.
Good delivery, clean sheet. That's how the Union have success this Saturday. Switching gears, though, the Union's upcoming CONCACAF Champions League action next week. I'm going to let everyone at home in on a little secret, okay? We tape Union Insider on Tuesday mornings, so we really never get a chance to chat in depth about Champions League because the games haven't happened yet. This week is a little different. Let's dive into the Union's upcoming CCL quarterfinal match ahead of time. Next Tuesday, they take on Atlas FC at home. What can Union and Union fans expect from Atlas as opponents?
It's a very strong opponent, a very, very good Mexican team, one of the best in their country. But I feel like when we saw from them, with the last round, they lost 4-1 when they play away, and then they get at home and they won 4-0. So even if the Union could have a great game at home, it's not going to be finished. They need to finish the job, make sure when they go there, especially if they win at home by a long score, they can, keep, the qualification and not thinking that it's over because they have a lot of great players in their team and they can make something happen.
The Union started the last leg of Champions League on the road in El Salvador against Alianza. Now, of course, starting at home. What kind of an effect will that have on the roster we see on Tuesday?
I think they'll definitely, being at home, try to put out their best lineup. Whatever that is for Jim, I think that you'll see it on Tuesday, looking for them to jump out in front of this home leg that they have. It's different from the previous round in terms of coming back home for the second leg. This time they're going to be away for the second leg, so it's important that they really start the game well and have a good game at home and really look to push Atlas to the brink of the tie.
How big of a jump in the opponent is Atlas from Alianza?
Oh, it's big. I feel like it's the level of the opponent. It's so much bigger. Atlas is so much better than the last team, Alianza. No offense to Alianza, but I think Atlas is so much better. And the thing is now, the Champions League, even if we talk about maybe the roster change, I think we'll see more maybe roster change in the league instead of the Champions League, because for me the Champions League is very important and it's something that the MLS team can win. Last year Seattle won it, and I'm sure Philadelphia wants to be the second one winning this competition, so we'll probably see the best lineup during those games.
A big jump in competition then with Atlas. Specifically, what do you hope the Union hone in on with this Champions League action?
Just taking control of the game, especially being at home. We talked about how hard it is going on the road and winning games, especially now we add into that they'd have to travel down to Mexico, which is not an easy place to play. So they really need to take advantage of this home game, try and get as many goals as they can at home, and really give themselves a leg up in that second leg.
Setting the tone early for sure. The brightest spot from the Orlando game was the play of Andres Perea, who scored his third goal in 6 appearances. We'll discuss his impact thus far when Union Insider returns. We're back with our Nugget of the Week, presented by Chick-fil-A. It was a team mostly made up of reserves that led the Union to a 2-0 victory the last time the Union hosted Sporting Kansas City at Subaru Park way back in 2018. It's You Serve Night at Subaru Park this weekend. The Philadelphia Union and Beanbo Bakeries USA have teamed up to support local community organizations by providing opportunities for fans to participate in service projects in the Philadelphia area. You Serve is a first-of-its-kind volunteer rewards program that allows fans to receive exclusive Union experiences and prizes in exchange for volunteer hours with local and national community partners. To sign up or to learn more, visit u-serve.org. Welcome back to Union Insider. I'm Marissa Pilla. It's time for this week's player profile presented by Subaru, and we're turning our focus on Andres Perea this week. The midfielder was acquired this past offseason from Orlando City for allocation money. Perea plays a box-to-box style, getting involved offensively while also contributing on defense. He scored twice against Alianza in the Union's first leg of CCL, and he added his first MLS tally for the Union last weekend, tying his goal output for Orlando last year. Perea is a great player that we've seen the Union bring in this offseason. What sets him apart from the other midfield options the Union have?
I think he gave a great option offensively to the team. We saw his quality. We saw he scored 3 goals for the team, 2 in Champions League, 1 in the league. So it's a different type of players than we saw in the midfield, and I think it's a good option for Jim Curtin to be able to put him as a starter if he wants to attack more, or put him maybe more as a sub coming in the game if we need something to make happen offensively. So I really like him, and I think he's still young. He still have a lot of progression, and I think he's going to be a great addition to the team this year.
How close is he to breaking into the starting 11 consistently?
I think when you talk about his goals, I think he's really close. I think he's somebody that Jim is definitely thinking about starting, especially with the home games that they have coming up. He's somebody that gives them that attacking threat and makes them go onto the front foot a little bit more than somebody like a Flock that might be a little bit more defensive.
What do you see about him in terms of how he makes an impact with the players around him?
I think it's just in his movement to see offensively, he's not scared to kind of take the space, sometimes come to the ball, but like Shannon said, it's a bit different player. Obviously, we see more offensively, then I think in his head, he needs to be a bit more defensively sometimes to try to help and not always just stay on the side or try to receive the ball in his feet to then helping the team offensively.
Daniel Gazdag and Jose Martinez were missed last weekend, and this weekend they're both back and available for selection. But did they make the cut for our players to watch? That answer as Union Insider wraps up after this. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that the Union broadcasts have moved to Apple TV this year. What you may not know is how easy it is to access. Here's a litany of ways. Look at them, study them, keep them in your mind. If you've caught any of the action on Apple TV, you know what you're in for. Top coverage and analysis, all in crystal clear 1080p resolution. Sign up for MLS Season Pass today to ensure you don't miss a minute of the action. Final segment here on Union Insider, which means it's time for all state players to watch. Seba and Shannon have selected a player they think will have a significant, that's the key word, significant impact in Saturday's match. Seba?
I'm going with Kai Wagner, just because he was the best in assists last season for the team. He had a great start of the first season, but I feel like in a game against Kansas City, like I talk about in my keys in the game, we need him to push forward and give some good crosses. And at the same time, I think for him and for the defense, we saw a lot of frustration from Kai Wagner in the beginning of the season, a bit more than maybe we saw in the past. So I think he kind of need to cool down a little bit, focus on himself, on his own play, and not just try to give assists on a corner, on a free kick, but he can, push forward a little bit more and try to help the team offensively with good crosses.
Shannon?
For me, it's going to be Jack Elliott. We talked about the defense really needing to step up and get back to where they were last year. He's a big part of that. Seba talked about Kai. Kai's a great crosser of the ball, and Elliott does a great job of making sure he makes himself available on the free kicks, the corners, so somebody that can get an easy goal, get the Union starting, get the home crowd behind it, and really get the game going.
Now, guys, I will be really impressed if these two actually link up and score a goal. But usually I don't give a player to watch. It's usually these two jobs. But this week is a little different because this is my last show before heading out onto maternity leave. So my player to watch is my baby that's on the way. My husband, Brian, and I are so excited for our first baby to come into this world. We don't know if it's a boy or girl, or if they'll eventually help the Union on the field. But what we do know is they will be a diehard Philly sports fan. So while I'm away, I know the show is in good hands. So thank you to both of you and our producer, Jordan Strauss, for getting everything set so I can become a mom, come back, and talk soccer from then on out. So that's going to do it for this week's Union Insider. The Union take on Sporting Kansas City this Saturday, 7:30 on MLS Season Pass. And these two will be here next week to break it all down for you. For Seba and Shannon, I'm Marissa. Thanks so much for watching.